The Uganda Revenue Authority has revealed a significant growth of a 10% increment in revenue collected in the financial year 2021-2022. That and more stories in our bulletin today. Thank you so much for joining us and always being part of us. My name is Nahabi Kajura, but first, on the headlines. Court of Appeal dismisses petition by Paul Mwiru challenging Nabeta's election. Activists demand for government cancellation of Russian contracts with Uganda. Ex-top official on trial in France for 1994 genocide. In a sports today, CAF confirms 2022 Total Energies CAF Champions League final host nation. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. We start with one of our top stories. The Court of Appeal in Kampala has dismissed with costs an appeal by Paul Mwiru challenging the election of Nathan Nabeta as Jinja East Member of Parliament. We have the report.
NRM's Nabeta was declared the winner of the January 14th election winner, for Jinja East having got 5,817 votes against Mwiru's 5,580 in second position. This prompted the Alliance for National Transformation candidate to run to the High Court to challenge the election, citing vote rigging, intimidation of his polling agents, and use of Electoral Commission officials to alter results. However, the case was dismissed by the High Court, prompting him to run to the Court of Appeal. On Monday, a panel of 3 judges of the Court of Appeal, including Christopher Madrama, Elizabeth Musoke, and Helen Obura, dismissed the application by Mwiru to have time extended for filing his appeal. The judges ruled that Mwiru filed his appeal late, as they reasoned with Nabeta that the same should be struck out and the former ordered to pay costs.
Thank you so much, reporter. Moving on in top stories, a group of concerned activists under their umbrella group, the Ukraine Solidarity Committee Uganda, has asked government to cancel its contracts with Russia, claiming its invasion of Ukraine has deeply affected the East African community. We have the report.
While addressing the media in Kampala, chairperson of the Ukraine Solidarity Committee, Alex Makanga, attributed the recent spate of accidents in the country to the hike in prices of commodities, which has been brought about by the war in Ukraine.
In post-Ukraine Russian aggression, where Africa will become a second battleground for supremacy, causing more plundering, extortion of our resources at the expense of African citizens. So we are doing this in the Pan-Africanism heart. We are seeing what will come after the war. It will be more disadvantageous to African and African people than even what we are seeing.
He says the Russia-Ukraine war has led to the abuse of rule of law and disrespect to the international laws and charters that protect human rights and state sovereignty, causing global insecurity. He called upon Pan-Africanists to condemn such acts.
The status quo has yet remained the same to date, with our government and leaders becoming more dictatorial against citizens. With that, we see them supporting more Russian aggression on Ukraine and Russia supporting all the evils of Russia, which we condemn in the highest terms and urge every sensible Pan-Africanist to condemn.
It's against this background that he appealed to the government to implement their demands by cancelling all its contracts with Russia, allow them have a peaceful demonstration from the Constitutional Square in Kampala to the Russian embassy in response to the Russian aggression.
So those are things we demand our country, our government to do. And the other one is the appealing to you, our young brothers and sisters, to come and go do volunteerism in Ukraine.
Russia's military operation in Ukraine has increased the impact of the war on the already disrupted trade and travel activities across the world, largely due to the geographical location of the war, but also to the importance of both countries as major economies.
Thank you so much, our reporter. Moving on in our top stories, the Uganda Revenue Authority has revealed a significant growth of a 10% increment in the revenue collected in the financial year 2021-2022 compared to that of 2020-2021 financial year. Now, the revelation was made by the Commissioner General John Musinguzi while addressing the press in Kampala.
In the financial year 2021-2022 report, a total of 1,490.41 billion shillings increment has been registered in revenue collected compared to the 2020-2021 financial year, despite the resultant effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. According to John Musinguzi, the Commissioner General of the Uganda Revenue Authority, the domestic revenue collections also registered a significant increase, much as these were below the target by 1,185 billion shillings. The authority has further highlighted the effects of the Russian-Ukraine war on the economy, especially the hiking of prices for the essential goods and services. Much as the economy still faces an economic depression, the authority is optimistic that they have to collect 5.9 trillion shillings by the end of this financial year, thus calling upon all Ugandans to collaborate with them.
Africa Today takes a quick break. We shall come back with our international news. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. A former senior Rwandan official went on trial in Paris on Monday, accused of complicity in the African nation's genocide, the most high-ranking figure yet to face justice in France over the 1991 massacres. We have the report.
The case of Laurent Buchi-Baruta is the fourth from the Rwandan genocide to come to court in France, which had long been under pressure from activists to act against suspected perpetrators who had taken refuge on French soil. An estimated 800,000 Tutsis and moderate Hutus perished in 100 days of slaughter in 1994, in which Hutu militiamen massacred Tutsis, taking cover in churches and schools. Standing trial on charges of genocide, complicity in genocide, and complicity in crimes against humanity, Buchi-Baruta faces a life sentence if convicted. The 78-year-old, who suffers from health problems, entered the courtroom in a wheelchair and a walking stick in his hand. Buchi-Baruta, in a hoarse voice, asked if he could remain seated, as offered by the court's president. At the heart of the case are several security meetings, either ordered by Buchi-Baruta or in which he participated. The accusation says they were slaughtered planning sessions.
Moving on, Somali President Mohamed Abdullahi, also known as Farmajo, has announced his candidacy for a second term. Now, last Thursday, the parliamentary committee in charge of organizing the election announced that presidential elections would be taking place on May 15th. President Farmajo's mandate ended in February last year, but he stayed on amid a delay in the holding of parliamentary elections. The president faces stiff competition from several candidates, including two former presidents. In Somalia, the president is elected by members of parliament and senators. To be elected, a candidate must receive at least 2/3 of the votes, or 184 votes. Western backers of the Somali government, led by the United States, have repeatedly urged the authorities to complete the electoral process, saying that the many delays were distracting them from the crucial fight against the Al-Shabaab insurgency. Somalia has lived in chronic instability for decades and faces an insurgency by radical Islamist Shabaab linked to Al-Qaeda. Away from that, despite weeks of fear that the Kremlin may double down on its assault on Ukraine on Victory Day, Russian President Putin did not escalate his war efforts on the anniversary, making the Allied triumph over Nazi Germany during the World War II, which he celebrated with a huge parade in Moscow. Across the border in Ukraine, major cities had one of the calmest days since the invasion. Take a look at the story.
Still, the southern Ukrainian city of Odessa was struck by a volley of Russian missiles on Monday evening, including 3 Kinzhal hypersonic missiles, according to a regional Ukrainian military official. Attacks earlier in the day forced European Council President Charles Michel to seek shelter during an official visit. But the Pentagon assessed that Russian forces do not have the capability to launch a ground or maritime offensive against the Black Sea port. A senior U.S. defense official told reporters on Monday, as they face fierce Ukrainian resistance near cities such as Kharkiv, that Russian advances in the Donbas region remain incremental and anemic. To signal Washington's resolve to back Kyiv, President Biden on Monday signed into law a bill that will expedite the process of sending military aid to Ukraine and urged Congress to approve a separate multi-billion-dollar aid package for Ukraine.
Away from that, a government delegation traveled on Thursday to the Canadian-operated mine located in the city, Pakoa. There, on April 18, miners were trapped as the underground section of the mine flooded due to heavy rain. We have the story. The Minister for Public Services, Basalma Bazi, explained how the rescue operation was proceeding and said that they needed to get to the refuge chamber quickly and then check it out, adding that they hope that trapped miners are still safe. Families of miners, 6 Burkina, a Zambian and a Tanzanian, continue to campaign for accountability as rescuers battled to pump water out of the mine. Antoine Bama, spokesman for the families of the victims, revealed that at first they noticed a certain carelessness on the part of the mine's operator and had to raise their voice and called on the authorities, and in turn contacted the mine company, which was the game changer. On Wednesday, the emergency committee relocated to Pakoa, 100 kilometers west of Ouagadougou. An end to the rescue operation was initially scheduled on May 5th, but the equipment has suffered recurrent breakdowns, further delaying the objectives of the team. As time passes, some miners' relatives believe only a miracle can enable them to reunite with them alive and well. Well, thank you so much, our reporter. Africa Today takes a quick break. We shall come back with business, sports, and health. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. In a business news today, the 2022 Mining Indaba Summit began on Monday in Cape Town, South Africa. Now, the summit is scheduled to run until the end of the week and intends to highlight the issue of surrounding mining in Africa.
Speaking during the opening of the summit, the Zambian president called upon elected leaders in their respective countries to be responsible for their duties. Hakainde Hichilema, the president of Zambia, said that Zambians should not accept the fact that they don't have sufficient power to drive their mining sector and other industries because they do have them, but only that they have not been doing the work that they were elected to do. Among the issues highlighted include power shortage that has impacted the mineral flow in various African countries. Other leaders also called upon countries in Africa to share the benefits of their respective resources. Gwede Mantashe, the South African Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, said that they dig the mineral from the pit to the port and somebody else adds value. This year's mining Indaba happens with a backdrop of high energy prices, which pose a significant inflationary risk to the poor and emerging markets. The mining industry on the continent has been impacted by other issues like insecurity, workers' strikes, and low global mineral prices.
In Africa Today Health, the COP15 against desertification began on Monday in Abidjan in the presence of several African heads of state to try to take concrete action against the rapid degradation of land and respond to the climate emergency under the theme, Let's Act First. We have the report.
Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara at the opening of the COP15 say that the summit is held in a context of climate emergency and severely impacts the land management policies and exacerbates the phenomenon of drought. 9 African heads of state, including Nigerian President Mohamed Bazoum, his Congress counterpart Felix Tshisekedi, or Nigerian Muhammad Buhari, were present around Mr. Ouattara. Several of them took the floor, Mr. Bazoum deploring, for example, the agriculture yields that are decreasing year after year, while Mr. Tshisekedi pointed to the lengthening of the dry seasons and the advance of the Sahara and Kalahari deserts on the continent. The leaders pledged to continue to give the highest priority to the problems of drought and desertification. French President Emmanuel Macron said in a video message that desertification has the face of more than 3.2 billion people living on degraded lands around the world, which requires an urgency to act. The African Development Bank and the European Union are among the main donors of this project.
In a sports news today, the Confederation of African Football has confirmed Morocco as the nation to host this year's Total Energies CAF Champions League final.